Here we go. Welcome here, everybody. So Teach Outdoors Minnesota, our weekly workshop, and today is all about nature journaling. I'm really excited. Now, I'm really excited partly because of the nature journaling, and Emma and Ashley and Cristina are going to take us on a great adventure. But I'm also excited that I get to stand outside. It's warm enough up here in northern Minnesota. I can finally stand outside and do this. And so I'm going to, my goodness. And then also, we have a few leaves that are popping up. Ducks are just going crazy around here. I think they're, passing through, but it's really fun. Our birds are starting to change. And you might notice that I've got a hummingbird feeder behind me. We got our first hummingbird of the year that just arrived today at lunch. And so I'm on top of the world right now. I got all kinds of things that are going great today. So some of these pictures are pictures I've taken since we last gathered last Wednesday. Some of the things, our first leaves, there you go. Not much. Oh, yesterday, finally bees, like everywhere, all kinds of different types of bees. And there's our hummingbird. He flew all the way in, my goodness. And first spot that he stopped was right there at the feeder. That was really fun. So like I said, we're going to have nature journaling today. And so I've got my pencil. I hope you have your pencil as well. Pencil and something nature-y, and then of course something to write on, right? So you've got all that together. And Emma and Ashley and Cristina are going to take us through all of that with nature journaling. I just want to remind you that I'm also recording this. So if you have friends who are missing this, realize that we're getting that recording, and then Anna is going to put it on our website. Bunch of hawks and merlins flying through as well. It's been great, just been great.
Joe, just because I hear your enthusiasm, I did put in the chat. Please join us. Of course you're joining us, but let us know where you're joining us from, and maybe something that just excites you today. Joe is very excited about hummingbirds. I'm excited about milkweed and Baltimore Orioles, and we're having some other fun stuff going on here. All the gardening. It's just really fun. Spring blooms, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, definitely make sure you share all those types of things. And so here we are. I shared a few pictures in the beginning, and Emma and Ashley and Cristina, you're going to take charge, right? I don't remember who's up first. Tell me who to spotlight.
It'll be me.
Excellent.
All right, Emma.
So I'm going to just go ahead and share my screen right off the bat here. Hopefully I can do it correctly. All right, do you see my slide?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. All right, so just as we're sort of gathering ourselves here, if folks want to just take a minute and type in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and just share if you have any experience with nature journaling already, or if you don't. I'm just curious kind of where we're starting out. What's our starting point? And again, whatever you're comfortable, feel free to unmute. We're small enough.
My daughter used to teach at Sierra Outdoor School in California, and she introduced me to nature journaling. So this will be cool to see somebody else's take.
That is so great. I worked actually at the outdoor school in the same town. I worked at Foothill Horizons, which is just down the road from Sierra Outdoor School. So that's a fun connection. My item is actually from there, so.
That's awesome. So my nature journaling experience is that most recently I've been doing it with all of our virtual field trips, even if it's only about 2 to 4 minutes of nature journaling. I have all my students journal whatever it is that's behind me. And I think that it helps everybody to really focus.
Christina's kind of monitoring the chat today. So Cristina, let me know if anything pops up in there.
My class was one of the classes that Joe went over nature journaling with. They loved it. So I want to learn some more today so that we can do it either tomorrow or the next day. So this week sometime.
Oh, great.
That's one of the best habits to get into, is trying something new every week, even if it's, doesn't always work as well as you wished. You gave it a go. That's awesome. Good going.
Christina, anything in the chat you want to spotlight before we move on?
Yes, I'm just kind of cruising here. There's kind of a range. There's some with no nature journaling experience, and then there's some, oh, I lost it now. Kind of across the board.
I like the idea of taking a picture, even though it's a sketch. It's not really a picture, but taking a picture of your day that shared.
Sure.
Amanda says we use, I assume Nate, she says we use them daily to record our findings or what we did outdoors for the day with pre-K. Today it was a bird that they saw.
Awesome, awesome. All right, well, feel free to keep adding those things into the chat. I just wanted to get a little bit of an idea of who's out there and what experience we have before we jump in. There we go. So just before we get into the nature journaling aspect, we wanted to sort of introduce ourselves and who we are and where we're coming from. So myself, Ashley, and Christina are taking on nature journaling this afternoon. And we're from Three Rivers Park District. So I've just put a little blurb there. It's a park system in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the West Suburban area, with a mission to promote environmental stewardship through recreation and education in a natural resource-based park system. So just so you have a little background on who we are and where we're coming from, we're all working out at different nature centers. So this is kind of fun for us to get to work together. One of the benefits of the pandemic, I guess, you get to work across sites a little easier. So it's been fun. Ashley and Christina, anything you want to add to introductory things?
I would just like to add, for those who aren't familiar with Three Rivers, that we are a large park district, and in terms of opportunities, there's a lot of different things that you could do at Three Rivers Park District. Things from more recreational, like alpine skiing, Nordic skiing. There's even golf. So there's a lot of things in that regard. But even programming, we have an educational farm. So we have ag education, and we have art in the environment program. So we have a lot of different things in our parks, and we have several different traditional nature centers as well. So yeah, we do a lot of things, especially this year. We do a lot of things, a lot of things in new ways. So I just wanted to share that.
Perfect, thank you.
I don't think I have anything to add after that. So.
All right. Well then, I also just wanted to make sure that we credit ahead of time. 99% of the ideas and wording from this presentation comes from these two resources. It's a book called How to Teach Nature Journaling, and then of course the Beatles project out of the Lawrence Hall of Science in California. And we will talk a little bit more in depth about how you can access these resources later on. But I just wanted to put it out there that these ideas are we're heavily leaning on these resources for these ideas. All right. Now is where I'm going to ask for some ideas from you all. I'm wondering, even if you don't have a lot of experience with nature journaling, what comes to mind when you think about what the purpose of nature journaling is for you? Again, type in the chat or unmute and share. Either one is fine. I'm just curious what pops into your brain.
You want me to read these to you, Emma?
Sure, that would be awesome.
To be more intentional and to reflect. Okay, I lost my spot already. Just to slow down and take a breath. Communication with others, to be more observant of surroundings, connecting with nature, focus attention, sitting back and observing around us and taking notice of things we might overlook, share ideas.
Awesome.
I've had my kids journal about nature as I have a nature walk in my room, but nothing formal or with instruction, I have learned. Oh, I think that was maybe for the previous prompt. Oh no, that's maybe not.
Either one.
I hear too, like, just to remember what you have seen and heard, because sometimes you come in and you're overstimulated and you just slow down a little bit. And, And I just think that development of science literacy, environment literacy, critical thinking, and thank you for adding those. Those were lovely.
Some more real life experiences, gathering data to recall what kids did that day and focus attention, to remember what you've seen and heard, to help students see and notice in depth. Learning about nature helps to be more observant. There's a slash in the middle. Learning about nature / helps to be more observant.
Sure.
Support development of science literacy, environmental literacy, critical thinking, like Sue was just mentioning.
Awesome. Excellent. So many ideas. And I think what I want to get here is like, yes, all yes. There's no one right way to nature journal. There's no one right reason to nature journal. It can be used for all sorts of different reasons and different goals, and people do it, you know, you can come in with a different focus and really use it to emphasize whatever it is you want to emphasize in your classroom or your personal life, whether that's like meditation or science or storytelling. Or I primarily use it as a teaching tool, but I also use it in my personal life. So there's just like a whole lot of different reasons and different purposes, I suppose, of nature journaling. But I think as I was reflecting on a lot of these, a lot of these really come down to 3 main core pieces, which is observation, curiosity, and connection. So these 3, I think, really harness a lot of those other goals, and that they're really a foundational part in a lot of these different purposes of nature journaling. So that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on for a little bit here, giving you some tools to enhance some observation, curiosity, and connection, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the journaling itself. And yeah, but Ashley is gonna. Do you want to take it from here, Ashley?
Yeah.
Into the little activity.
All right, so we're gonna do a little activity, and as adults, I'm guessing your first impression is going to be this is really basic and elementary, and but I want you to stick with me because this is a really important, like, foundational piece for making observations and connections and having that curiosity. And practicing it is a really good way, not only for you to kind of practice those observational skills, but also a really great way for you to model if you're a teacher or if you have kids in your life and you want to model these kinds of values to them. So our first thing we're going to do, and I think, do all of you have your little item or big item, I guess, but an item that you brought with you today? If not, you can find really anything. Yeah, like if it's a house plant, that's fine. Even if it's just some weird thing you found in the laundry, yeah, go for that. Pick something that you're interested in. And then what we're going to do is we are going to start off with kind of an observational practice of I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. All right, so if you notice, these kind of fit in these, the observation, curiosity, and connection. So we're gonna start off with the first one, which is I notice. And so for about 1 minute, what you are going to do is you are going to look at your object, whatever it is you found, and you are just gonna talk about the things you notice. And it's important that you say them out loud. I know it sounds weird. You can have it unmiked, or you can have it yourself on mute if it feels really too weird, but we're gonna encourage you to unmute, and it's gonna be noisy and everybody's gonna be talking at once and it's gonna be great. But if you're really like self-conscious, you can mute yourself, that's fine. But I do want you to say it out loud and start your sentences with I notice. And it can be, use all of your senses, things you see, things you smell, things you hear, things you, I mean, depending on what your object is, maybe the taste, you know, but you know. So we're gonna give you about 1 minute, and I just want you to notice as many things as you possibly can about your object. And remember, say it out loud and start it with I notice. All right, go ahead.
All right.
I notice
I
horse
I
hair.
notice green.
I
I noticed that it's
are
peely.
growing.
I notice
I
I notice
notice
it feels
that it's
smooth.
shiny.
I noticed that, oh, that part broke off. I noticed that broke off.
I noticed that it has
I
I noticed the roots are white, but
I noticed that part of it is
Notice?
squishy.
that there
the
are
round shape.
little
Pink and white petals.
like
I noticed that
colored
it's mostly
sections in
white.
these
I
sticks.
noticed some of the roots are really big
I
and some of them are
noticed-
just starting.
I noticed that it's really
How
dry.
it seems to be almost
I noticed the
knit
roots don't
like.
have the little hairs that I thought they would have.
This side has more gaps than
Yeah, little pink, white flowers.
like.
I
All
noticed
right.
the roots are growing all different which ways.
have a
I'm gonna have you finish up your last thoughts. Anybody got one last observation? All right. All right, so that's really great. Thank you all for doing that and saying things out loud. In a way, it'll kind of, in my experience, saying it out loud really draws me to new things in a way that doing it completely internally doesn't. So we're gonna now move on to the next step of our thing, and we are going to wonder. We're gonna kind of branch out that curiosity. So you noticed a lot of things, and as an adult, you probably already are starting to formulate some questions that you have, like you're noticing weird things. All right, so we are gonna start with I wonder, and this is going to be the same thing. I want you to unmic yourself or unmute yourselves and share them out loud. Again, they should start with I wonder. Anything that you're curious about of your object. All right, so we're gonna start again. I'm gonna give you about a minute and then we'll move on to the last step.
All right.
I wonder why
I
the roots
wonder
don't have the little hairs.
how
that
the
I
wonder
would
why
bird.
some
I
of
wonder why it
I
doesn't have
wonder
any
why it
lichens.
has
I
white
wonder why
and blue
it's so
stripes.
White
Some of them have
I
horse
wonder how
hair.
long it would
I
take to
wonder
rot.
as it goes up.
I wonder why some are firmer
I
than
wonder when it
others.
fell to
Some
the
of
ground.
those hearts are yellow.
Like worms.
Like
I wonder
So dry.
why daffodil petals decay before
I
the stem.
I wonder why the roots are
I
white and
wonder
not brown.
why.
I wonder why it has so
Wonder
many
if there's
sections.
an
Wonder
adaptive advantage
why-
to being white.
I wonder why it's
Smells good.
I wonder why it feels
I
waxy.
wonder
why
why.
it's so
I
small.
wonder if there's fungus
Well,
I
growing in
wonder
it.
why they're so
Small
different because I
pieces.
put them in the water at about the same
I
time.
wonder how old it
Ones
is.
like coffee, as much as adults like coffee.
All right, we're gonna
Wonder
wrap
if it
up.
needs
You
a
can
bigger
give your
pot.
last I wonders. All right, those are great. I'm not gonna lie, just hearing these little bits, I'm very curious what people's objects are. Like I can't see, I'm just hearing all of them and I'm like really curious. All right, so that's what I'm wondering about right now. All right, so our last step is to start building some connections between your object and other things that you've noticed in your life, outside, anything really. It could be something seemingly completely unconnected. So our last bit is it reminds me of. All right, so once again, we're gonna do the same thing, unmute yourself, and what does your object remind you of? And it can be certain things that you've noticed or things that you've wondered, like your question might be a question that you've asked about something else. So any of the things that you've done before, we're kind of building here. All right, so it reminds me of.
All right. It
It reminds me of a sock.
Reminds
It reminds me of an
Reminds me of
arm.
reeds that I've pulled out of the ground.
It
and how they
reminds me of
reminds me
outdoors and
of
freshness.
a basket
garden.
or a
Reminds
canoe,
me of
actually.
It also reminds me of plants that have
It
been
reminds
me
It reminds
of
me of New
a
Grove.
foxfire. Don't know why, but it does.
Grapes.
It reminds me of
Reminds me of safety.
it
For
reminds
the
me
baby
of-
bird.
of seeds.
How important connections are to happiness. and relationships.
And running.
All right. That was great, everybody. So that was about a minute, believe it or not. So thank you for doing that. So this kind of process, I noticed, I wonder, it reminds me of continuing to practice that out loud, especially when you're with other people, is a really great way to learn more. And practicing those observational skills. When you get to be with another person and you're looking at the same thing and you're going through these I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, there's kind of this really cool like dynamic that happens where you kind of push yourselves to discover more. And so, sorry, getting a little bit of a frog in my throat. Yeah, so saying them out loud is also a really great way to model how to make observations, make connections, and inspire curiosity. So, all right, so keep that in mind as we go on.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for doing it. And especially, I know that can feel a little weird to do it out loud, but I do really think like hearing other people sometimes sparks something for yourself. And so it's just nice to have that little activity that we can do together. So how you're like, you might be like, why does this relate to nature journal? We're going to be writing some things down, but we wanted to have this because this I think is a really foundational tool as you begin to nature journal, just to have this practice of noticing and wondering and making connections to things. So we're going to jump into some journals, and I have some photos on the next couple of slides of different students' nature journals. And these are students of all different ages. I think the youngest student is like 6 and the oldest is like 19. Or, you know, there's a whole bunch, a huge range. And no two are the same. There are different focuses on each, but I'm gonna go through these photos and I'd love for you to just take a moment with each one and notice like what stands out to you about this particular journal page. What is I guess just what that's really it. What's popping out to you about this journal page? So I'm gonna just flip through them really slow. You can type in the chat if you'd like to, and then we'll chat at the end. I'll be on each one for 30 seconds or so.
It is. Are the scales on the wind being reflected?
Oops, don't want to go there yet. What were people noticing? Oh, I guess I can see the chat here.
I can read it to you if you prefer, Emma.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Joe was noticing the questions of the first one. So the one that had all the question marks that were painted brown. Love the drawings, the red coloring. There was measurements. There was art. There was mapping, movement map, data from the movement. So you mentioned detailed notes and details and how it was artistic and creative. Not an exercise in grammar or spelling.
Yeah.
A variety of the types of journals, notes about the song.
Sure. Absolutely. This gets back to that. There's no one right way. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach this, sort of depending on what is your goal, what is your curiosity, what you're looking at that in that moment. I did, were there any other ones? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut it off.
I think that was it.
Okay. I did want to introduce this concept of this. This is something that comes from that book, How to Teach Nature Journaling, called The 3 Languages of Nature Journaling. And this is not like English and Spanish. These are 3 different ways to put information into your nature journal. So the first of these languages is just pictures and adding pictures to your nature journal. I think every single one of those that I just flipped through included some type of image. And this is really helpful in noticing detail, because as you're sketching something, even if you claim I'm not an artist, there's a whole chapter, I think, on that in this book. But taking that time to, you have to look at your sketch and then check back on the item that you're looking at, and you have to do that several times, and you start to notice quite a few more details. So I always tell students, it's not necessarily about creating this beautiful masterpiece. It's about creating, or it's about observation and noticing more details about what you're, the subject of your journal. So we've got pictures, we've got words. This is one you can say, write this in the language that is the most comfortable for you, because this is about organizing your thoughts. And so, starting to put some of those observations down on paper and organizing them into categories if you need to, or sometimes I'll tell students that don't feel really confident with their drawing skills, with their sketching skills. This is a great place to add words. This is a great place to supplement your drawing and add those details that you don't feel like you can get quite right with your drawing. Like, describe it with words, and then we'll just continue on that practice. So we've got pictures, words, and then the last one is numbers. Sometimes this one is not one we think about really often, but it helps recognize patterns. So now not only am I looking at those details, but now I'm looking at how many feathers are there, how many branches are there on the tree, how many leaves are growing, how many flowers does each one have, does each flower have the same number of petals? You can start to recognize patterns through numbers. And this doesn't have to be how many, it can be how big, it can be totally estimations, how many lengths of my own hand is it? Or that could be your main focus, right? Maybe you're doing a math journaling and you really want numbers to be the main focus, and so you have rulers and other, devices to measure things, and you can add a lot of numbers. So words, pictures, and numbers, those are our 3 languages of nature journaling.
Emma, I'm going to jump in and share. Ashley threw in the chat. We often tell kids it's not about doing a pretty picture. It's about doing a scientific picture. You are using drawing as a way to communicate information. So making it pretty doesn't matter.
Awesome.
Ooh.
Well put. Yeah, I also, just as long as we're right here, just something to note as an instructor of, like as a teacher leading this type of activity, it's also really important to praise accordingly. So as you are walking around and looking at your students' journal pages, you've told them that it's not about creating a pretty picture. And so praising students that are noticing lots of details instead of, I think it's really easy for people to be like, oh my gosh, your drawing is so wonderful. You're such a talented artist, which is not a bad thing to say by any means, but I think it's also important that we recognize those details that are being noticed.
Emma, and I wanted to say, thanks for saying, write in the most comfortable language that is, for you, and letting kids switch between languages and not worry about spelling. Because I know as a very bad speller myself, sometimes that crippled my writing because I didn't know how to spell something.
Sure. Exactly. You can always come back later if you need to and Google the word, but in the moment of, making those observations, it's important to make the goals clear. And yeah.
Emma, there's a question in the chat from Diane. She wants to know what you call the graphs, and I'm guessing this is related to maybe which language they would fall
sure.
under. Is that correct, Diane?
Yes. Yes.
You know, I'm not totally positive. I think it sort of depends on the individual, or like the goal of the entry. Like perhaps you're just listening to sounds, and that makes drawing an image of like something visual that you're seeing really difficult. So the best way to represent that is through a graph or some type of chart or something like that. I think it could fit into whatever category works best for you. I'm not super particular about putting things in the right boxes though, so somebody else might have a stronger opinion.
I agree, Emma. And this is where something like this becomes very interdisciplinary. A graph could be, you know, the picture. It can have words when you think about labeling axes and stuff, and it definitely has numbers. So it's this beautiful interdisciplinary blend of all of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Any other final things? Thank you for all the wonderful comments. If anybody else wants to jump in, please feel free at any point. Hold space for a minute.
I was going to say, can you see me or did I lose my picture?
I see you. Oh, now I don't.
Oh, okay. This is Luann. I guess I just wanted to comment on the data because from a lot of the STEM training that I did, I think that when we think of data and charts, we just have to remember, like, I do think it can fit into all categories, especially on the age limit, but I also, or the age, like in children, right? I saw a parent graphing with like a 2-year-old the weather and just using the images of, was it sunny, was it cloudy, or was it rainy, right? The other day, and it was online and they shared the picture and I was like, oh my God, is that beautiful? But really the power of the data is that we teach them the analytical skills, right? The analysis, the data analysis that comes with inquiry and the ability, right, to look at the data and work on those analytical skills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. I do want to make sure, oops, did I go backwards? I don't know which direction I'm going. Well, that's okay. The slide that I'm wanting to go to is actually not all that important that you see this visual. I will actually just stop sharing for a moment. But I wanted to just make sure that we make some space to actually do some nature journaling, because I think it is one of those things that we can talk about and talk about and talk about, and then until you're given time that's like this, your job, right? Your only job right now is to nature journal. It's hard to make that time. So now I'm telling you, this is your job. Your job is to go and nature journal, and we're gonna do this for 10 minutes. It's gonna go by fast. You probably won't feel done by the time the 10 minutes is up, but that's okay. You can always come back to it. We just want to get a little bit of a taste. So feel free to step away from your computer. Feel free to go find a beautiful sunny spot. It's super sunny and beautiful here. So I don't know about where you are. I know, Joe, it looks like it's really nice up there. So find a nice spot to nature journal, and we're gonna meet back, just for sake of making it easy, we'll meet back at 4:15. Does that sound okay for folks? All right, have at it. Go ahead, use those 3 the 3 languages. Use I Notice, I Wonder, and then we'll see you back here at 4. All right, coming up on 4:15. I know that goes fast. But we'll let people kind of trickle back in. Finish up your last question or observation, whatever you're putting in your journal page. Oops, oh my goodness. And just as we're sort of trickling back in, I'm hoping to reflect on this question. Just how can you use this in your teaching? And that might look different for every single person as we teach different subjects, different ages, different areas. And I'd love to have a conversation about this, just a quick one. So feel free to unmute or again, add in the chat if you're more comfortable.
That was fun.
What was fun about it?
I loved it because I was doing things that meant a lot to me, that I can see from my window. The green grass is getting taller, and so my horse friends, everything is horse with me, and so my horse friends in my backyard basically, or whatever, are eating green grass. And I said the hostas are growing because I can see them from my window. Father Duck is in his pool. And so it was all things that I could observe about nature in my own backyard.
Isn't that cool?
And I had fun drawing the pictures. And I have miniature donkeys. And so I said my donkey friends are waiting for their dinner. And so I had fun drawing the pictures, observing everybody kind of in action from my window. It was great fun.
Oh,
and
good.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to hear it.
So I used words and pictures.
Any other thoughts? Just either reflection on the journaling itself or how you might use it in your teaching or leading.
I've been using it as a core practice, a core science practice when helping teachers explore the new Minnesota science standards. And that's been eye-opening to all of us, myself included, because I knew that it would be powerful, but I didn't know how powerful it would be. So that's my first one. And my second one, my second observation is, can we meet again tomorrow and do this again?
I agree.
There are several groups. Well, I guess I say several. I couldn't give you many more than one by name, but I know there is a group of people that meets every Saturday. It's a little bit of an inconvenient time for Minnesota. It's like right in the middle of the day, but they just meet every Saturday in Nature Journal. It's based out of California, but people from all over the country join. So there are groups out there.
Hey, Emma.
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say, I like the simplicity of the process. It lends itself to younger kids and older kids, but it's still very simple. And it's something like in ECFE we could teach parents and they could easily do with their children. I wanted to put out there, I know there's a resource and I saw it once and I didn't save it, about like nature journaling in Minnesota for families, like place-based learning. I don't know if it came out of the American Indian culture. Anything ring a bell for anybody? No?
I'll look into it and see if we can't get something there. I know I taught 5th grade and, we started doing these kind of journaling things and getting outside and taking time. One, it focused the kids and it brought them down a little bit, which we sometimes need, especially in the spring. But I didn't ask for much. I never graded it or anything else. But then, and I was not a writer. And so I empathized with a lot of these kids. I'm like, okay, now we're going to try to write some poetry today. Or now I want to have a descriptive writing part in a different part of our scheduled day, right? And all of a sudden that empowered many, many children who didn't feel themselves as writers. I really encourage them, go back to your nature journals. What did you like? You know, what can you describe with your words now? Try your best adjectives today, or your adverbs, or whatever. And you know what? That was such a great entry point for them. And the same for nonfiction writing. If you wanted them to then research something about an object or anything, and they would go in, what really excited you one time? And they would flip through that journal and they could find a topic they wanted to research. Because sometimes when you ask a kid, what do they want to write about? They're like, oh, I don't know. And they will waste almost the whole writing period not knowing what to write.
I noticed when I got outside, I started with the general, well, where's the wind coming from? What's the sky look like? And then noticed the dogwood tree. And here in New Jersey, they're in full bloom. So I tried to sketch that. And I'm one of those that can't draw a straight line even with a ruler. But it got me to look at the leaves. And maybe you guys knew this, but I didn't. There's that central vein, and then all the rest of them come up and curl around that. And I never saw that before. So that was cool.
That is so great to hear.
Here's a PBS show, The Durrells, where the youngest son hates school, but he loves nature, and he journals like this about all the animals he finds. He brings animals home, and he became a famous zoologist. He worked with David Attenborough, so it's a true story, but it's, I mean, that's what his passion of journaling turned into his life work.
Oh, that's neat. That's a cool story.
Yeah, if you ever can see the series, it's The Durrells. It's a great series about a family that lives on Corfu, and the youngest son just brings home all these animals and journals them all.
Kids love animals.
And makes a zoo.
So will we have time to share our object with everyone today?
Sure. Let me, just as long as we're on the subject of just like how to use this, I just want to share a brief resource with you. And then I definitely want to, we can do a little like everybody holds up their object. So I'm just going to share my screen really quick. One more time. Oops. And I just wanted to share this with you. At the very beginning, I had put that picture of the places where we had pulled a lot of this information from. And this website, it's just howtoteachnaturejournaling.com. Pretty simple, but it is a really spectacular resource for finding different activities. I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of is an awesome one. It is like a really great foundational activity, but there are so many different ways to engage with your nature journal. And this website has them organized a little bit, so you can, you know, start looking at some of the introductory things and then getting down into observations of natural history, some more scientifically focused investigations. We get into thought and storytelling. I just want to get through these so you can see them all. Drawing and pictures, like you can really focus on pictures if that's what you want to do, you know, that can be your goal. And then of course, numbers and math, not something that we always think about as being able, you know, to focus on with a nature journal, but there's a lot of different ways to do that. So anyway, I just wanted to bring up this resources because it's really, really wonderful. It actually is from, there's a book called How to Teach Nature Journaling that you can download for free from someone named John Muir Laws and Emily Ligren. They've written this book and you can download it for free. It has, I mean, we did, you know, what, an hour of talking about why nature journaling is important. There's a whole, this is a whole entire book about all these different reasons and research and just a really wonderful resource. So I just wanted to plug that because that's where a lot of this information came from, and show that to you. But that's the end of my plug. So I would love to see the items that folks have.
Just wait, now I started this.
Do we have an option I'd like to share? Or we can just all hold them up maybe? Would that work?
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, just wait.
Oh. Oh, am I still sharing? No, I'm not.
Okay. And
some sticks and flowers.
Sue, are your bleeding hearts from your yard? Cool.
Oh, nice.
Oh, where did I go?
Oh, I see some cool rocks. Hard to tell.
Seeing lots of potted plants too.
Okay, this is my bird nest that the birds have made almost entirely of horsehair and leaves.
Oh.
And so it's all here, strands of horsehair. I don't know if you can see it that well, but think how they're collecting the horsehair as I'm combing the horses and they're shedding out now in the spring, and how the birds are collecting this hair. And I have brought to school the most beautiful ones. So I just have these smaller ones at home, but all the birds' nests on my farm are made out of horsehair that the birds take. They're beautiful.
I don't know if I've ever seen a bird's nest made of horsehair before. That's a neat use of horsehair.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, everybody, and thanks for nature journaling with us. We just skimmed the surface. So I know many of you have done lots of this before, but I encourage you to check out those resources. There's a lot of really in-depth, neat stuff you can get into with nature journaling. So I don't know if Joe, if you had any other final words, or Christina or Ashley, if you wanted to add anything, or Sue, anybody, but that is all I had.
Yep.
Well, I just want to say on behalf of everybody, because I'm pretty sure we all agree, we love you three. My gosh, this was great. And Sue and Anna, let's put them like about 10 times on our list for next year, okay? Let's just do them over and over again.
I know. And that resource in and of itself is priceless, you guys. Thanks for sharing that. I've been perusing it a bit. I'm like, wow, wow, wow. I mean, it's so interdisciplinary in nature and as well as age range. My gosh, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So you're going to have to fine tune, and next year when we ask you to present again, present on that next layer that we all need.
Sure.
So yeah, this was really great. I'm so glad that we record these because I want to return to bits and pieces of this and sort of look at that a little bit closer. And that website that you gave, thank you so much. As I was looking at that, I was thinking about some of the things that I've been trying to teach when it comes to the new Minnesota Science Standards. And I just think that some of the language that was there just really leaps right out at me. And so I really appreciate that as well.
Of course.
Good. Well, everybody, next week, next Wednesday, unfortunately, Emma and Christina and Ashley aren't on our list, but we've got something even more amazing, right?
More amazing, equally amazing.
Okay, equally amazing,
There
I
we
suppose.
All right.
And it's going to be monarchs, right?
Absolutely. Katie Lynn is an expert. She's going to share some of her knowledge about monarchs and how to integrate all the ideas into our classrooms. I've had classes with Katie before. She is an amazing presenter. So I hope you can be there or watch it later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
and the monarch butterflies with the milkweed. That's a great nature journaling prompt right now as the milkweed's growing. So that's a great one to follow through.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And my milkweed's just popping up. So butterflies should be coming soon.
Nice.
Can I just say, Before we end for the day, I just wanted to say thank you to Sue and to Joe and to Anna for including us and involving us, because we really liked being a part of the Teach Outdoors project. I think it's fabulous and I'm so excited to be a part of it. So whatever you need, let us know. We want to keep doing it. Thanks so much for having us here.
Christina, I've already committed you to doing this again next year. So there you go. I told you.
I can't wait, Joe. I can't wait.
COVID has taught us to bring together so many fun partners, and look at our audience. I recognize so many of your faces now. It's so fun. Someday it'd be great to meet together in person. So thanks for keep coming.
Yeah. Can someone type in the name of that book that you said that was a journaling book in the chat? I cruised through there. I didn't see it.
Sure.
Emma, are you able to do that?
Yes, I can type it in right now, and I also can. We can put a link to it on the website. On
our website, yeah, absolutely.
Hannah is a rock star with our website. Everything that's really important shows up there, so you can be sure it will.
Thanks.
Excellent. Well, yeah, next week, next Wednesday, and then the very last one that we're going to have is going to highlight the master of ceremonies, Anna, as well. That she's going to take us through some of the things that we should be thinking about and preparing, so that next year that we're ready to go off just as powerful as possible. So I'm excited for that as well. Thinking about what we should be doing over the summer. So. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great day. You know what? I don't think I'm going inside. I'm staying out here. This is beautiful.
I'm going out.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. See you next week. Thanks again.